if you have to take another job, I get it. I've had to take another job and made some people mad because I couldn't turn the opportunity down. So I don't want to be that guy that rips somebody for taking a job. Do I think Schlossnagle left in the right way, and that he told everybody he was going to be a part of the program long term just before? No, I don't think he left it in the right way. But what are you really supposed to do, Caleb? Are you supposed to say no comment? Then you just kind of verify that that's the case. But it's one thing to leave for a job. It's another thing to come up with excuses after. So tell me what this Jim Schlossnagle has said, who was the head coach at A&M that is now the head coach at Texas. Fortunately, he stays in the conference.
He has decided he's going to throw everybody under the bus, and he makes himself look like a total insane POS. And there's only a few coaches I say that about, like, in terms of their character, and he's one of the worst. You could say, by the way, you could lie. I don't blame you for lying. I do blame you when you call a reporter selfish for asking the question and publicly shame him. And that's what he did. And also, I just want to point this out real quick before I get into this. My mom actually told me about this, and I did my research. Jim Schlossnagle is from Smithsburg, Maryland, which is right outside of Hagerstown. And I used to work for a local newspaper in Hagerstown, Maryland back in the day. And Schlossnagle worked there as a stringer back in the 80s. So he actually wanted to go into journalism before he became a baseball coach. And he decided to turn on his former profession because he's a twisted human being. But he says he threw Trev Alberts under the bus. He said that A&M was a different job when Trev Alberts got there. How? What did Trev Alberts do to you? It's not like he put you on the hot seat. Like, just stop. And then he comes out and he says some lies, like the typical lies you hear from people who don't want smoke. His quote was, "My staff received death threats. I didn't expect this. Oh my God, they gave me death threats and me and my family." Guys, I'm just going to tell you this up front. I'm just going to say this. Unless you're like Hank Aaron in the 1970s chasing Babe Ruth's record and you're getting like letters like from people trying to kill you, white supremacists who don't want you to break Babe Ruth's record, 99.75% of the time when people in professional or college sports or anything like that complain about death threats, they're doing it to deflect smoke off of them. That's what
I think your percentage is a little high. I think you're mostly right in that people have been known to use death threats as a defense mechanism because they're getting
i.e. Jim McElwain.
That is the best example. Okay. Yes. However, I want to share something with you. I was put in a position in which I was told Jonathan Crompton received death threats, not by the Crompton family and not by Jonathan. And I thought it was significant. Even at one point, do you remember the great Georgia game that he played his senior year? Mm-hmm. I sat in the stands kind of covertly behind them so I could my idea was to take quotes down of people saying, "Hey, Jonathan, you bleep." But as it turns out, he played really well. So nobody said that. So, but anyway, the point is I went to them and I wanted to write about it. And I said, I'm going to write about it. Now I'm asking you for your comment. Now, they said, we really don't want that out there. And I said, well, I get that because it could make you look like you're whining. I get it. But I think that people need to be aware of that. So I do want to say that there are exceptions. Now, by all indications, the Schlossnagle guy is not in that category. He is pulling it out of thin air and saying somebody threatened to kill me if I didn't leave or stay to go to Texas or whatever. This sounds very premeditated.
It's insanely premeditated. And also, I mean, you know, this goes way deeper. Yeah, he said he didn't expect this type of venom from Texas A&M. Really? You're in the SEC and you didn't expect this type of venom?
You know what that reminds me of so much, though?
What?
Okay. I'm not going to name the person, but somebody in Tennessee Sports Information Department was visiting with Lane Kiffin right before he left in 2009. Or was it? Yeah, 2009. Okay, so it was after 2009. It didn't cross over into January, did it? It was in December.
No, it crossed over into January. January.
So January 2010. I'm sorry. So I know somebody that went up to him, and they're having a riot in the streets. And the sports information person says, I guess we'll do this, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I can't believe everybody's this upset. And Caleb, this is how much coaches look at football as a business. And most coaches don't have any allegiance. That's why the Vitello thing's so special. That's why I think the Heupel thing might be special, because I think they want to retire at Tennessee. She said, "You just don't bleep and get it, do you?" And that word started with the F. And I don't think he did. And I don't know that this Schlossnagle guy really, it sinks in how big of a deal this is to leave, either in Kiffin's case after a year, or to go to a rival right after you get your team to the College World Series. I think a lot of these guys look at it just as jobs. So that comment did not surprise me. I think it's tone deaf and stupid, but that is the one out of the ones you shared that really didn't surprise me. I think he just looks at it like he got another insurance job.
Okay.
Which is wrong, which is dead wrong.
Totally wrong.
Don't attack me, attack him.
There's another layer to this. And it's funny because you brought up Lane Kiffin, because Jim Schlossnagle has apparently been having the same accusations that he may have enjoyed certain people.
Younger ladies, is that where you're going?
Yes, he's some younger ladies affiliated with Texas A&M.
Good Lord, at least Lane's a good looking guy.
Well, yeah, that is very, very true.
That's
so,
like the
yes.
Brett Bielema thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you are absolutely right. So that has been honestly one of the accusations about him. Remember, he said that phrase, "I left my family to come here," when he was first asked about leaving Texas A&M.
Okay, that explains a lot. You know what that sounds like to me? And Tennessee had a coach like this. I'm not going to say who it was. I'm not going to even say sport. But they've had a coach said, and I know that one of the guys you dislike the most, one of the reasons he left is because he had a girlfriend at his current school. So what if he had a girlfriend at his current school and the wife goes, "Well, can you make sure he's married, by the way?" And the wife just goes, "Hey, you got to coach somewhere else. We don't care where you coach, but you got to coach somewhere else." I think that happens more than you know, because I hate to tell you, but a lot of these coaches have questionable morals, especially when they've got a big expense account and they're traveling the country recruiting 15 seconds from Newbert Collision Center.
5th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Newbert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Newbert Collision Center.
So we discussed both departures. Which one do you think was more hurtful to the we've discussed which was worse from a morality standpoint, but which one was more hurtful to the program? And you do have the transfer portal in play now. A coach leaving like Schlossnagle did, or a coach leaving like Kiffin did?
Well, Kiffin because it's football. But the truth of the matter is Schlossnagle is like in a vacuum within the program. This one's bigger because you're going for the rival and you shamed everybody, and you did it a day after losing the national title game. So for the record, when you asked about if Schlossnagle was married, he was, but he reportedly went through a bitter divorce. And I'm just saying, bitter divorce, accused of certain dating habits. Says he left his family to go to Texas A&M and then bolts for Texas. I'm just saying there is a lot of questions about this guy, and it's really, and by the way, here's the worst part. He says, "I left my family," and then he complains about the venom his family received from Texas A&M. Well, which is it, Jimmy? Like,
did you just call me Jimmy?
Yes, I did, because he's a liar. He's a liar. I'm worried about the treatment of my family that I left to go to Texas A&M. What?
Yeah, somebody on the message board brought up that he said he wasn't pleased with how Jimbo Fisher was treated. Did you hear that anywhere? Because Good Lord. If everybody could be as mistreated as Jimbo Fisher, get $100 million to do a big sack of nothing.
Yes, he did. He went in depth on his decision to leave Texas A&M, and he talked about the treatment of Jimbo Fisher, and he was criticizing Trev Alberts.
What treatment? Is it the treatment by the fans, or is it the treatment by the administration? Because the administration, I mean, Jimbo Fisher should write them a check back. The administration was awesome to him.
Well, he's talking about the new administration with Trev Alberts there, because the old administration was one that was so fair to Jimbo Fisher. But you're right. Even if that was so overly fair to Jimbo Fisher.
Yes.
Now, if you're worried about the treatment of Jimbo Fisher, maybe worried about the way his wife treated him when he was at Florida State. Okay, we could have a conversation about that. His ex-wife.
Smokey Mountain says, please fire me for $100 million. Heck, you could cut a foot off for $100 million. I mean, goodness, it's a game changer.
This is as dumb of a statement as Jeremy Pruitt saying that he was giving McDonald's money and Chick-fil-A backs to athletes because he was worried about, Black Lives Matter. Remember that last year? And he cited George Floyd as to why he gave his black athletes money and Chick-fil-A backs.
Yes. And it's hard not to go into Chick-fil-A nowadays without thinking of Jeremy Pruitt. Maybe he could get some sort of NIL deal with them.